We are now broadcasting live.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another College Council. For those who may be joining us for the first time, my name is Ricky Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege of being the president of our great college and get to lead our bi-weekly meeting with the leaders from our campus constituency groups, which are comprised of our great faculty, our great classified professionals, our great students, our managers, deans, vice presidents, and the wonderfully talented Tia Pickens, who serves as our secretary, taking wonderful notes. And speaking of notes, that is always the first thing on the agenda. I want to also say that we are joined by someone who I'll introduce in a couple of seconds, the great Luke Minchaka, who is our outreach coordinator. I'll introduce him, give him his due proper introduction. He's doing an amazing job. But before we dive into the approval of the minutes or discussion of the minutes, let me bring up what I hope is the agenda. It is. So I'm going to begin with a roll call. If you can just unmute, go ahead and unmute yourself. For those who are watching, again, College Council meets every 2 weeks. These are the leaders from respective constituency groups on campus. Any one of them you can reach out to if you would like to have an agenda item. We put together the agenda based on feedback from the committee and things that are going on campus. So thank you for those who are watching via our YouTube channel. We're doing it that way to avoid being Zoom bombed, as many colleges are doing right now. Our wonderful public information officer, Caesar, is monitoring the YouTube live. If you have questions and you're in the YouTube live, it's best that those questions go through your representative of the constituency groups. And so I'm going to do roll call right now in the order that the committee members are listed. Of course, I'm here, Ricky Shabazz, Paul Alexander, the president of the Academic Senate.
Here.
Great, thanks, Paul. Luis, Dr. Luis Perez, President-elect Academic Senate.
Present.
Matilda Chavez, Vice President of Instruction.
Here.
Robbie Yule, Chair of Institutional Technology and one of our wonderful deans. Gene, sorry, I need some water.
Here.
Dean,
Here.
Thanks. It's that point of the day when I need some water. Mention Caesar, our Public Information Officer.
Here.
Standing in for our Vice President of Students, Denise Wisenhunt. I think I saw Roberto, another one of
Here.
our deans.
Present.
Luke. Dr. Susan Murray, Dean of Institutional Effectiveness.
Present.
Majda, our supervisory, or what is known as our SPA representative.
Here, Ricky.
Thank you, Majda. Another wonderful one of our wonderful deans, Jeannie Tyler, who's the administrative representative. Roberto, another one of our deans.
Present.
Thank you, Jeannie. Nadia, who's the chair of chairs.
Here.
I never noticed that was listed as president of the chairs of the cabinet.
It is. It's called President of Chairs Cabinet. I've seen both. I think President of Chairs Cabinet is the official, but the Chair of Chairs.
You learn something new every day. I've always known it to be the chair of chairs.
I know. I was shocked when I saw that too.
Well, maybe I could see it because I actually have my glasses on, and people have been commenting that they see me wearing my glasses more often. And much like many of you, being at home is a little different looking on a 15-inch laptop versus a bigger desktop monitor. But no, I never noticed that before. Our president of the Associated Students, Oscar, are you with us? Okay, so maybe Oscar will join us later. What about Javier, the vice president of the students? Our wonderful president of the Classified Senate, Awana.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here.
Great, thanks, Awana. And our acting vice president of administrative services, Roxanne Solis.
I'm here.
Great. So we have everyone except for our student rep here. Certainly I'll check in with Oscar if he doesn't join us. Again, number one on the agenda is the roll call, which we just did, and the approval of the April 14th minutes, which I believe Tia sent out to you. Again, thanks, Tia, for taking our meeting notes. Do I have anyone who would like to motion for approval of the April 14th meeting notes?
I do. Majda.
Awana can second.
Great. And thank you all for making the announcement of your name. And if we could all do that when you are speaking, just so we can acknowledge who is speaking. So it looks like I had a first from Majda and a second from Awana. Is there any further discussions added to the meeting notes? Hearing none, all in favor indicate so by saying aye.
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 More importantly, if there's anyone who would like to abstain or deny the motion, if you would indicate by saying so. And I hate to do that, but that's the world we live in when we're Zooming. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Again, next, College Council is an opportunity to get updates about different programs, departments, questions. Each member of College Council or a member of our college can bring an agenda item. You can do so by emailing myself and or the secretary, Tia, who's helps put the agenda together. But I'm so happy to have one of the newest members of our San Diego City College team who has hit the ground running. He is a trailblazer. Let me say, as someone who started my career in outreach and admissions, I'm kind of hard to impress, and Luke is impressive in what he's done, the way he's using technology, the way he's gone into the community. Every time I see the things that he and his team are doing, I just smile and know that we made the right decision. And I've got to give all the credit in the world to our associate dean, Genevieve, who chose and found Luke amongst the pool of people who applied to work at City College. So Luke, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to our wonderful outreach coordinator, Luke Menchaca, who's going to talk about the work that he's doing.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Shabazz, and thank you all for allowing me to come and to present to you all and kind of take this time and to kind of share what my outreach team is doing. And again, a big thank you to our Associate Dean, Genevieve Viscara, for the guidance and the support. And Dr. Shabazz is definitely right. We've definitely been out there putting in work, having to adapt and to ensure that our prospective students, families still feel great about pursuing an education from San Diego City College. And we're definitely proud and excited about the things we're doing coming up even in the next week and couple months. So we'll kind of dive in. I want to give you some context. You all know my name, so I'm Luke Menchaca, the Outreach Coordinator. So just to kind of go over some of our former core services that we kind of adapted. So we have our City Connect sessions, which is our street outreach team, canvassing team. So they go out into the community, meeting folks in front of Walmart, different coffee shops, whatever it is, posting our flyers throughout the community. So we were definitely out there kind of getting out and just sharing our information. We have our City Insight session, which was our kind of in-house session to kind of give a general overview of the campus, to provide the necessary information that folks needed to make a decision to come to San Diego City College. Definitely providing with a real big emphasis on encouragement, which is something that we found that our students and that our community needs, is encouragement that they can pursue a higher education. The next thing was our Connect session, which really focused on the next step in coming to City College, focusing on our admissions application, financial aid, applications, promise applications. So those sessions were delivered in person. Some of our City Days events. This was a great event that we held last semester, but also that we're going to continue on in the spring semester. But obviously, because of what's happening in our community and throughout the nation, where we had to kind of adapt that. That was definitely great. Our city experience, which was our campus tour, Service Connect, where we're able to establish some connections with our professionals on campus, which were definitely great for us. The next being our city info night, and actually going to the community, collaborating with different organizations and even folks just that we find in the community, on the streets and the schools that would love to connect with us. And I always like to say city brings the house and we bring everyone, and it's kind of a great time for folks to get connected to them. A lot of the folks that do attend are in this meeting, so big thank you to you if you've been out before. Kind of beyond that, one of the newer programs we started in January, which was our City Promise Sessions, which took a program that was traditionally done on our campus that students were to have to come while they're in high school to either do an online orientation or in person. We kind of took that session to them and actually were able to lock in the funding for the first year of the Promise, and we were in the process of completing every single English classroom at San Diego High, as well as Lincoln and a lot of our feeder high schools. So that was another big program we did. With the big change of us moving online, we really had to adapt our services. And I kind of wanted to highlight some of those that we've been doing. So obviously we have our City Connect sessions, which was essentially a support with the enrollment process. We actually adapted to that online. We actually adapted that service online. We piloted that with E3 Civic Charter High School. We had almost 60 students on a Zoom call where we actually were able to finish and complete the admissions application, which was definitely exciting. And then later we actually last Friday, we actually completed a promise orientation with the same students, and they were able to submit the application for the promise, sign the contract, as well as receiving the orientation credit. So that was definitely amazing. With some of our services, we actually adapted it to our YouTube, our website on there, where we actually have some YouTube content where students can tune in and kind of see how to complete the application for admission. So we have some step-by-step tutorials that kind of feature myself. After that, we did definitely adapt and have our city info nights, which are still taking place every month. So those programs are still running. Next, we actually did adapt, and we are doing city insight sessions. So we are still delivering those sessions to the community, schools online. And then we also have a recorded version on YouTube that students can log in and watch 24/7 at their leisure. So that's definitely great, and we're excited about. We've also been doing our CCAP concurrent enrollment orientations, which have been great. We've been doing them with parents. We've been doing them with students, and they've been very, very positive. And the feedback we have from Unified and some of our partners have been extremely good for us, and we're continuing to do them. We have one this week and multiple next week, so we're definitely excited about that. And one of the things I'm most excited about is our city experience, which was formerly a campus tour, and obviously it's hard to kind of get to campus now. So before we left, we actually filmed a comprehensive tour of our campus and kind of general overview of our campus, showing students, different areas and offices and programs. And that session is actually live on YouTube, which students can watch that anytime they want. So that's a pretty cool thing. So they're able to still experience our campus. Some new programs that we have kind of launched because we kind of needed to during this time was we actually developed a city grad ready session, which was a kind of a senior grad student that was looking to enroll, and kind of tailored the services to them, which is definitely exciting. We've held quite a few sessions. I think as time is continuing to go by, unified schools and our charter high schools are getting more connected to the online platform. So we're kind of diving in, and those are getting scheduled every single week. I think this week we have like 2 scheduled, so we're definitely excited about that. Our city grad night, big shout out to all the special population programs on our campus. We're actually bringing those folks with us, and we're doing a session to make sure that they're connected to our campus and not just getting information, but actually filling out their applications and making sure that when they do finish high school, that they are connected and making sure that they're already in those programs. Last but not least, we have our Q&A sessions that happen every single Friday, where we average anywhere from 7 to 15 students, and folks are able to connect with our outreach ambassadors. Currently it's on Instagram, but in the coming weeks, it will be launched on Facebook. A couple more things. One thing that I think we're really disappointed is that we're kind of missing out on that in-person contact with our City Connect sessions. So we've really had to adapt. Right here, you can see a little screenshot on the far left of our Instagram page where we're almost at 1,000 followers. So we're really excited about that. But we've also been able to really network and to really connect with different organizations. This organization is called Tools for After School. And basically what we do, every person that follows us or connects with us, we actually send them a message from myself, kind of outlining who we are, how we can support them, wanting to connect. And the best thing for us is we've actually been able to establish a ton of new relationships. As you can see here in the middle image, it's kind of highlighting, the interaction we have and them kind of sharing with us what they're looking, what they do. And that's actually been very fruitful for us because we've been able to really connect with these programs that, we didn't have before, that we didn't know existed. On the far right, you'll see kind of an interaction that we've had with the student, and we've really been able to connect with lots of students that add us and connect with us. And each student that follows us, we actually have a special message that goes to them talking about dates, services we have specifically for students who are looking to enroll. So these are some of the things that we're doing to kind of connect with our community further in person versus just posting stuff online. A couple more things that we're diving into is Facebook. I think that's one avenue that we haven't really dove into, but I think there's a huge opportunity for us to kind of connect. There's lots of different generations on Facebook. And I think that's something we've kind of lacked in doing. As you can kind of see here, I kind of provide some examples on the far right about some community events. Kind of diving into the events pages, I've been able to find different events. And even before we kind of went into this quarantine kind of time, I've been able to kind of look and find different community events that I never knew existed. In turn, it kind of brings light to different organizations and individuals who are well connected in our community. So we've been able to build partnerships and bonds with them. And then lastly, it's a way to connect with different organizations on the very bottom, as you can kind of see there. MANA, San Diego Youth Services. So we've been able to really branch out. And this is a huge emphasis that we're putting moving forward in the last couple of weeks with our outreach, kind of tackling Facebook, because there's a lot of organizations that are on Facebook and individuals who are on Facebook, but that aren't on, the maybe newer kind of social media platforms. So this is a huge thing that we're diving in because we're sharing this content. We're trying to go after the parents. We're trying to go after the students. Sometimes the parents can share the content with the student as well. So this is another huge thing that we're trying to dive into in the coming weeks. After that, we did have some great website content that we just did. We added a good welcome video for myself, welcoming students to our website page, along with all of our virtual services that are offered online, along with our service requests. So every service we offer, a student could request an appointment or a phone call with all our social medias linked up and everything like that. So our outreach, our website's popping, and we're definitely excited about the things and the information that students are receiving there, and the new connections that we're able to kind of show that our information is up to date and that we're still being active on there. Couple more things. We actually just implemented our pre-enrollment form, which is definitely great. One of the things that I always talk to students and individuals about is the amazing support services, academic programs, individuals on campus that are looking to support them. And our pre-enrollment form was developed to really connect our staff, our students with the students. And this is before they even become a student. And what we found is we've piloted this with our City Express session, which was a kind of a session to kind of streamline the enrollment process, but also to integrate into our info nights. So this form is used in our info nights as well as our insight session, and will be used in all of our informational sessions kind of moving forward. So students are able to fill this form out. They're able to click what services or offices they would like support from or information from, and then this content and information will be sent to those offices for folks to kind of get connected with. And then if you look on the very last one, and then a big thank you to our Vice President, Denise Wisenhunt, and she kind of brought this to my attention and our attention that we need to put a big emphasis on basic needs. And there's lots of students that have food insecurities, housing troubles and challenges. So we added the basic needs portion where students can kind of highlight that. And once we start to collect further, we can send their information and content to the correct parties that can definitely support them because we care about our students inside and outside the classroom. These are kind of my updates of our program. I believe that's the last one. I'll kind of go back so you can kind of see this a little bit more. But I wanted to respect your all's time. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them, or if you need any clarification on things. But again, thank you for the time to be here. And it's definitely an honor.
Luke, again, I can't thank you enough for what you and your team You are hands down doing more than I could have ever expected, and you're doing it in very innovative ways. And so I do have a couple questions, but I want to give the committee an opportunity. Is anyone on the committee have a question for Luke about our outreach efforts? If you do, just go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to raise your question.
Amazing, but it's not a question.
Yeah, also comment too. Great work, Luke.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I have a, yes, great work. Yeah, absolutely amazing. You have a list, as tall as I am, and it's absolutely fabulous. If on any of your new online sessions, if a department wants to participate or highlight a program, how do they reach out to you?
Just shoot me an email. I would love to kind of integrate anyone who wants to kind of jump on. I'm always inspired by, the outpouring of support, looking back to our info night for the Somali East African community. I think we had more folks from City than the participants, but it was amazing because I think people saw that, that we're here, we want to support you. So yeah, we have lots of sessions coming up, the entire, and we would love to integrate them. So if they want to come out, reach out, we can definitely support them. Especially even with our info nights, I try to feature at least 1 to 2 academic programs each time. Some of the feedback we had for the sessions were, it was a little longer in time, so I try to reduce it. But if they're willing to sign up, I would love to kind of have them out and kind of feature them. Not a problem at all. So please have them reach out and email me. We would love to do so.
And Luke, do you have your email in any of the slides? Because I know that you're under your first name.
Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, for sure.
A way to say that without,
I don't think I have it on the slide. I'm so sorry about that. But
maybe you could just give it out to folks.
Yeah, sure. So my email is going to be Menchaca. So AMENCHACA, and that's at sdccd.edu.
And great, and thank you for Tia. She emailed it out to everyone, and it is Andrew, but he goes by Luke, so we absolutely respect that. And thank you, Jeannie, for that question, because that was one of the questions I had, is just how people could help. So thanks for raising that question. We do have 40 to 50 people on YouTube watching College Council today, Luke. Any advice you want to give them in terms of how they could help?
Yeah, I think, we have our new grad nights that are coming up, and those are sessions where I would love for students to really see the love, the support, the care that we have for our students. So if anyone wants to be involved in that, to share a couple words, to have a couple minutes, please just send me an email, and I would love to integrate that into our sessions. If you have content that you would love to share, or if you want to talk about your department, we can post it on our social media account. I think our students love videos. So if you want to shoot one of those, we can definitely work with you on that. But any collaboration, I would absolutely love and definitely welcome, or even insight that you have. If you know individuals that are connected to people in our community, please send them my way. I would love to reach out. I think in the coming weeks, we're starting to work with continuing education, and that's something we're really excited about too. So we're trying to hit all the avenues and make sure that everyone is hearing the good word about what we're doing here at City College and how we can support.
Yeah, well, great. And
I got one comment. We just also encourage students to follow the outreach social media accounts, because they have two, their main account and also a resource account they're working on. Luke?
Yes, yeah. So for outreach, we post a lot of our great programs and services, and we're going to start sharing our school content. So if there's a parent out there, if there's a cousin or a brother, then they can see, hey, reach out to your high school counselor at Morse. They're going to be having a big event. But yeah, we actually have our SD City resource account. I'm actually going to be sending an email to the DL pretty quick with the video launching that account. It's SD City Resource. And basically what we're doing is we're taking all the different support programs, like, flyers and different avenues, and kind of putting in a centralized location. So students, regardless of what they're looking for, whether it be food, housing, that they can click this follow this social media account and make sure that they're getting all the support that City has to offer, because it's definitely a plethora of stuff, and we're definitely excited. So we're trying to streamline it and centralize it so students can easily get connected and get supported.
Yeah, well, Luke, thank you. We appreciate it. We're up on time, unfortunately,
No,
but
that's fine.
provided everyone your email. And again, you are doing a terrific job. And I want to also thank everyone who has supported Luke. A
Yes.
great deal of faculty, classified professionals, managers show up for Luke's activities. Again, I want to thank Genevieve for, these were two amazing hires that came on board and helped spread the word about City College in places that we had not been to in such a while. And I see our amazing Vice President of Students has joined us. So under her leadership, and she's a guru in outreach too. So, we sit back and watch what Luke and Genevieve are doing, and we're so proud of their efforts and to have them on our team. But if you haven't supported Luke and outreach in the college and some of these efforts, please reach out to him. He provided you his email address. And then lastly, Luke, here's what I'm waiting for. I've got a 10-year-old at home, Luke.
Sure.
So I did my first TikTok video.
Oh.
And since you all are on Facebook, you can go look at my TikTok video. I hear these youngsters, there's the TikTok challenge, I guess is what it is. Maybe it's time to have a City College TikTok challenge, and we can convince one of our vice presidents or Caesar, our members of College Council. What if we all did a TikTok challenge? It's tough keeping up with the social media and all the things that people are doing on it. But thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you all. Take care.
Want to get back to the agenda here. And Luke really is doing great work with outreach. Want to turn it over to our Vice President of Instruction, Tilly Chavez, to talk about the PPE plan. Certainly we've heard from Dottie and our nurses that we want to do our part as a community college. How are we going to support our great health care professionals who are putting themselves and their families in harm's way? And took a little time to figure this out because we were waiting on the state, but I appreciate the efforts that went into this. And I'm very proud to turn it over to Tilly, who's going to talk about how we're going to donate as a college some of our supplies to our clinical sites.
Hi everyone, Tilly Chavez here, and I think you can see my screen, the PPE donation plan, right? So I just made it a little bit larger so Ricky wouldn't have to wear his glasses, but okay. And our PPE plan, what we did is thank you to all the schools, everyone around the college who really volunteered and said, here's what we have. I mean, people even looked and said, we have this many first aid kits. People went and looked to all extremes what we possibly could donate. And then we decided that after assessing everything, about 45% we could donate without really impacting instruction. So you can see what's actually being donated up here. Nursing is offering 40 PPE kits. These kits include gowns, a head cover, shoe cover, mask, and gloves. Biology area, we found these face shields, which are amazing. Many of the, like at the public library, downtown San Diego City Library, they're actually making the face shields out of the 3D printers. We ended up having enough to donate about 220 face shields, and they're going to go to various locations. And our health center is offering up the caps, a box of caps, gowns, and gloves. So what we decided is, in looking at our clinical sites, these are the areas that we use really from our nursing students, 6 different locations or areas, and they all were more than happy to say, we'll take whatever you can provide for us. So we're really kind of distributing out everything we can. And roughly, you can see under our recommended offerings about 10 kits for 4 facilities. We're going to divide the caps and the face shields. Face shields are probably one of the biggest assets that they've been sitting in our biology lab for a couple of years. They're a little dusty, I had to clean them off, and nobody was even using them. So I think that's a real big piece for us. Then we also have a 3D printer that we're going to put in the loaner process. Our Dean Randy Barnes from our math, science, engineering, and nursing area is coordinating that with our public library. And then I do want to recognize Dr. Dottie Cordell and Dr. D. Armstrong, both of them are working this week to really separate out all of this supplies and get them to the facility. So I really want to put a big shout out to them and thank them for taking that extra step. That's the plan. Any questions?
This is Alana. For those who don't know, could you explain what PPE means?
Thank you. So we're looking at, oops. Thank you, Ricky. We're looking at the protective equipment that nurses and doctors, everyone is looking at. You're looking at masks, face shields, goggles, gloves, gowns, shoe coverings, head coverings, any equipment that might be of a protective device for them. Any of that we would look for. And so there was many more items that people offered to donate, but then it got into just little one-offs. So we're really looking to do like one donation for different a good amount. So that's just about one piece here, one piece there. Does that answer your question, Awana?
Yes, thank you.
And Tilly, did you want to say when and how those items were going to be donated?
So tomorrow morning, Dottie and Dee are actually coming together to put them in the right packages. And I think they're actually distributing them this week. So by Friday, they should all have been delivered.
Yeah, and again, to extend our appreciation to Dottie and Dee and the entire team, the nurses, both in the health center and in our nursing department for their efforts. And Dottie has been sending out great weekly updates, in some cases daily updates, about how we respond to this matter. And this will be doing our part. And so I'm so proud of our efforts, of our great faculty, classified professionals, administrators, students, that we would think enough of our community that we would give up our own supplies. And again, we are holding back some supplies for when we return, but we have figured out that we could, afford to let these go in support of our great health professionals who are putting themselves in harm's way. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll turn it over to Denise and Roxanne. And I think I saw Denise. So Denise, were you going to provide the update on the laptop distribution, or were we going to have Roberto, since I think I saw you were with us now?
You're muted. You're muted, Denise.
Okay. Hi. We are doing our second laptop distribution tomorrow. We asked the entire campus community through a DL of faculty and staff if they knew of students who needed a laptop. And the thing that's really special about the City College process is that we're offering laptops, but we're also offering the hotspot. So if a student needs a hotspot, they can get one. If a student needs a laptop, they can get one. Or if a student needed both, they could ask to get both. So we're really excited about that, because that comes up when we review other programs, is that we're able to give them the connectivity. So with that being said, tomorrow morning is our second laptop distribution. I know we have over 100 students who will be receiving laptops. I want to send a tremendous thank you to Dean Marciano Perez, and the committee has been phenomenal. Dean Yule, I could just, Tilly, Roxanne, Caesar. There has just been so much work, and all the volunteers. We have a cadre of volunteers tomorrow. This effort begins at 10 o'clock. Students can drive by once they've completed their form, and we've received it. So we've notified certain students can come and pick up a laptop, because they're basically loaning it like a library. And I want to thank the forward thinking of Dean Yule in making this a loaner program. So these laptops will be in the City College family for some time. And so we're really excited about doing that tomorrow.
Great, and thank you. And there are so many people to thank, and you mentioned that they're also going to have access to Wi-Fi hubs, and that's because of the great work of Roxanne and the administrative services team. This has been a campus-wide effort with instruction, student services, administrative services,
Yes.
faculty, classified professionals. I mean, there's so many people, the librarians and the classified professionals in the library put countless hours tagging these things. The IT
Yes.
department made sure that they worked, and that's amazing, because there are some colleges that have done these laptop programs only to find out that the laptops didn't work because they are refurbished. And to echo what Denise said, the students who are going to get them have already been notified. And so I want to be clear, this is not a referral for people to come to campus tomorrow. The students who are going to receive them have already been notified. And Denise, correct me if I'm wrong, we placed equity at the highest
Absolutely.
spot in terms of determining students. And let me also say that when you have nearly 18,000 students and only 500 or so laptops, it was a very difficult process, but I'm so proud of our college again that we are helping the most needy of students access not only a computer, but the internet during this very trying time. Roxanne, any questions about the laptop program? Roxanne, anything you want to add?
No, Denise summed it up very well. I just want to say thank you for all those that have contributed to our laptop program, and the help and the support. It's a very humbling experience, and as when city does things, we do it right, and we always go above and beyond. So just lots of thank yous across the board, and I can tell you that our students are very grateful. Um, you know, for all the countless hours that we put into this, it is totally worth every ounce of work going towards this, because they really sincerely appreciate it.
Great. And I see later on in the agenda, we're going to talk about the $12,000, nearly $12,000 that we added to Mr. Senegal and the foundation's donation. And it's so many things to be proud of. Our great employees at City College reached into their own pocket to donate resources to provide additional computers to students above and beyond what Denise is talking about. Awan, I saw you had a question.
Hi, yes. Do we anticipate a third distribution for the laptops? And do you all think we will deplete the 500 batch that we have?
Denise, did you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that?
You can answer it.
Yes, we are going to deplete. The need is great, as Ricky has explained. We have, nearly 18,000 students, and we will deplete it, but we don't see that a third distribution at this time will happen. We will be working on a process to contact students directly and possibly come up with a plan to mail out laptops.
And if I could further explain what's going on, is we had nearly 400 students respond to the first distribution, and we had about 150 actually show up. But Marciano, again, he did a terrific job, received a number of emails from students stating that they had challenges with transportation, or maybe they were one of the fortunate ones that didn't get laid off, so they didn't feel comfortable leaving their job to come get the computer. And frankly, the staff, Marciano, Denise, Roxanne, immediately said they wanted to do it again. I don't know that given the environment that we're operating out of, that we would want to do it a third time, but we are researching ways to get this computers in the hands of the students that doesn't require us or the students coming to campus. Any other questions about the laptop program? And really, kudos due go out to Denise and Roxanne, who single-handedly, collectively found the resources. Denise, $100,000 from Mr. Senegal, has his personal cell phone number if you want to get it. And Roxanne with the foundation and finding the laptops and the Wi-Fi hubs. And other than that, there's so many other people to thank. The folks who showed up during the first distribution, the folks who helped set up the computers. You already heard Rob Yule. I mean, there's so many people to thank to make this happen, but it is labor intensive to do this when you don't have computers ready to go or resources to buy the computers ready to go. Going to the next agenda item is Roxanne and probably Denise also. Maybe I'll start with Denise talking about the total dollar amount, and it should be on the screen there, Denise, that we're going to award in scholarships via Marciano's office again.
Mr. President, I don't have my glasses.
Oh, okay, no worries. So let me.
And I was about to make up a number, Mr. President.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Roxanne.
Good idea.
Okay, so the total amount of scholarships that are going out is $283,090. There were 210 students awarded scholarships. 29 of those students have signed up for PayPal payments, and I have paid out through PayPal directly to students $24,600.
And let me say how huge of an accomplishment and feat that was, that I challenged the team that many students don't want to deal with the mail or coming to campus, or maybe many of our students are facing homelessness. They don't have an address. And again, Roxanne rose to the occasion and figured out a way with our PayPal account. And Sylvia and Marciano figured out a way to notify students to say, hey, do you have a PayPal account? And we were able to do electronic transfers or payments in the amount of $24,600 directly to students, which means those students had those resources immediately. So great job to everyone involved in that. Any questions about scholarships? The other thing is we pressed the scholarship office and the great efforts of Sylvia in that office to issue these checks about a week earlier, maybe a little more than that, than we traditionally would. And so again, that put resources in the hands of students. Something to be proud of, that we over the course of the year gave out $283,090 in scholarships to over 200 students. Kudos to City College. And a number of those scholarships are because of our employees at City College donating out of payroll and the like. So thank you for everyone who supports the foundation, who supports our students. Any questions about the scholarships? The number 6 on the agenda is an update on the stimulus. Denise worked over the weekend. Folks, I don't know if Denise sleeps. I try to encourage her to sleep, but over a 3-day period, she probably put in close to 40 hours submitting the convoluted, full of bureaucracies process for us to access the CARES Act. And so let me give Denise her due accolades, but let me also turn it over to her to provide an update of where we are with the CARES funds.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will say that these kinds of things, opportunity to put money in the hands of the students, makes it all worth it. So pretty excited about that. I also want to thank the leadership of the campus, in particular, the discussions that we began. We had done some prior discussions with our financial aid group, but we felt, and really the president in his leadership felt really important that we convene a group that includes, key folks on campus. So we have people in financial aid, some whom are classified. We have supervisors who are part of this, and we have who are in financial aid. And we also have people from instruction, Berta Harris, Bernice Lorenzo. So we have that balance between instruction and non-instruction. We've really taken some time to be thoughtful about the manner in which we're going to kind of disperse funds. So this committee has convened last Friday. I've asked for another meeting tomorrow morning because we're doing some work district-wide too, to sort of align our processes to ensure that there's some level of consistency in what we do as a district to provide students. So in the space that we're in right now, I would say that some of the work is being done to give the resources to those students whom we know are neediest, as delineated through Pell Considerations federal guidelines, which help guide how we're providing resources for our students. So there's considerable discussion in regards to that. And then we're also looking at a process whereby students haven't applied for financial aid, may not be eligible for financial aid, but frankly, post-COVID have circumstances. So some of the work that's been done at the vice president level within the district is we've come up right now with a draft of different factors that we would ask students, like what have impacted them. And this is important because this is delineated and expected in our stimulus bill regulations, but also gives a better indicator of what we need to do for our students. And so we're not talking about a bunch of money right now. We're talking about basically $1.7 million. And if you think about that in the number of students, it's not a lot. But what we are trying to do within the and we know, and we're looking, when we look in regards to Pell, we're looking at those equity practices. Who is more likely to get Pell, and Susan working with us on that piece. But we're also doing a piece that is a bit more wide open, listening to some of the feedback that we've gotten in the past few days to ensure that it is transparent, but also is done within an equity lens. So we're very excited about this. We really hope to, by next week, kind of firm and get the information out to those students in our campus community to get resources, which may be on upwards of somewhere between $2 to $3. We're leveraging the resources to perhaps disseminate those resources in both summer and the fall, which would be great for students in crisis. So that's where we are with it. But I really want to thank you, the convening of the committee, because they have given some powerful feedback and real support in some of the work that financial aid is doing to provide these emergency funds for our students. One of the things that is unfortunate about this money is that undocumented students are not considered in the framework. And that was done, of course, at the federal level, by no means by the local level. So we're really putting our heads together, and under the leadership of Dr. Shabazz, how might we look at ways to kind of mine that gap and provide support services for those students who the federal government excluded them from the process.
Yes, and if I could add, and it's just not undocumented students, it's also international students. And while we don't have a large population of international students, certainly we do have international students. And I echo Denise's sentiments that we're not fans of this. This is not the equity way. This is not social justice. This is not the way we do business. And in fact, we are also having some challenges with the new regulations that came out late last week with how do we support our continuing education students, which we all agree should be part of this, but the feds did not consider non-credit students. So there are some details that we have to work through. And I also want to commend Denise because we were at the forefront of making sure that both the classified voice, the faculty voice, the student voice is part of this committee. But we've got to turn this around quick. If you did some simple math and look at the dollar amount we're receiving, which is about 4.5 million, 50% of it have to be spent in direct funding to students impacted by coronavirus. That works out to about $128 per student, folks. So if you think when I say 2.5 million, that's a lot of money, if you did some simple math, approximately 18,000 students, that works out to be roughly $128 per student. And Denise, if you could talk about the awards, I believe you were looking at a 2-tier system award where maybe the max award was around $300. And then there was a second tier, or have we not got that far yet?
Ricky, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I apologize. Yes, we are looking at, well, in terms of the factors of what we're looking at in terms of students, is we're looking at factors such as their unit load, as well as Pell eligibility. So that we see that as a potential allocation. Some colleges have actually kind of bifurcated and given more money based on units, but we're still in conversations with that as a college. The other piece, the second consideration, or the second tier, is giving money to students who don't fit all those criteria, but we know still need. So we're looking at it that way. But the bulk of the money will likely go to those whom the feds have already identified, and the committee has concurred really need this money, and we can get that in the hands of those students pretty darn quickly because we have that data already.
Yeah, and so that's largely based on Pell recipients for those who haven't been following along. Are there any questions of the committee about how we're approaching the stimulus funds? So there are two pots of money, if you will, parts of the allocation. 50% has to go directly to students. Another 50% comes to the institution, and we get to decide how it's spent with the parameters that Denise has already outlined. And I can tell you some of the things we're thinking about early on is how do we support faculty and classified professionals and managers in working remotely. And so we know there's a lot of work going on in the faculty ranks around distance education, remote learning. And so we're already in discussions about things like faculty mentors, because there are some folks who have been teaching online and remotely for some time. There are some folks who have begun innovative ways. And frankly, there are some folks who could use some help from their colleagues to adjust to what is or amounts to working remotely during an emergency. And so we're looking at ways to spend the other $2 million, which again, folks, on the surface sounds like a lot of money, but going into this, City College was facing about a 2-point-something deficit. And as a college, as a district, we were facing around a $30 million deficit. So this is not a lot of money when you think of the folks who had to be uprooted and start to work at home. This money is meant to say, how do we support these efforts during this emergency? And so the committee is taking on that information as well in terms of recommendations. I sat in the Academic Senate meeting yesterday, and there were a lot of great recommendations that came forward that we're looking into. Any questions of the committee about the stimulus funds? Roxanne, did you want to talk about the City Cares?
Well, through our efforts of fundraising, we have raised about $12,220 in the course of maybe a week and a couple of days. So that is in addition to the $100,000 from Jim Senegal and the $60,000 from our City College Foundation.
Yeah. And, it's something that I heard the faculty recommend yesterday during the Senate meeting was, could we identify additional funds to support Dreamers, DACA students, and the San Diego City College Foundation is a separate organization, although there are faculty members, employees of the college on that committee. And Roxanne, I would ask you to maybe by tomorrow send a formal email for a vote of that 12,000. Could we allocate a certain dollar amount just for Dreamers or undocumented students to be able to access it? I think that should be something that's very easy to do and would answer the suggestion of our faculty as presented to frankly me during the Academic Senate meeting.
Okay, will do.
Any questions about stimulus or the funds raised by our wonderful employees? Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Tilly. I'm going to stop sharing this. We're going to talk enrollment and targets. And then Tilly, we've still got 3 things on the agenda. So just be mindful of time if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you, Ricky. I think I had already shared this one before, but I think it was a draft. So I'll make it a little bigger so we can all see it. You can sit back and relax. The very first, this is the very first piece of this is FTS target. And this is what we look at with the productivity that's being set at a 15-to-1 productivity ratio. Basically, that is taking your FTS divided by your FTF divided by FTS to get that. And really, we are allocating, being allocated the 8994. If you remember, I think it was Roxanne, Denise, and myself were trying to put it in everybody's brain, the 9063, which was the 1920 numbers. So this is going to be our numbers for 2021, 8994. And this is basically there is a small reduction of FTEF this year, 73, and approximately 365 sections. And in looking, some of these can change in a given moment, depending on what's happening. But this is how our college has set these up for the time being. Looking at in the summer, in July and August of this year, we're looking to hit a target of about 663 FTES. Last summer, you can see our actual was about 58, and we're really aiming for 44 of FTES. I won't go into detail for all of these, but you can see they just line up to the bottom number of 8994, and there is a bit of a reduction. What we utilized last year is 662.5, and what we need to not go over this year of 600. And what's real important about that is we have to hit the 15-to-1 ratio. And to do that, we're really trying to be strategic about how we are scheduling classes on demand, scheduling classes that are high demand as well, looking at our wait list. And I've been working with the deans and chairs over this last year. Some of that work has been done, but we're trying to tweak a little bit more things here and there so that we can make sure that we hit that and be strategic about how we're getting there. And so there's some things there that I've listed. This can be shared out as well if needed. And I think you should have already had that because if you're on the team, on the committee here, it was already on the agenda. And then some discussion points that we're looking into trying to answer. How do we go forward? I'm always open to others. And, sometimes you can just get into a lot of questions and I don't have that crystal ball. None of us do, but we sometimes go down in there to say, what if, how, and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that contribute to this. Some of the things we heard a little bit earlier about our budget deficit already, looking to what's going to happen with the budget and when it's going to be released and how much. And Ricky was talking about it's probably going to be a reduction. So there's some other things to speculate and look at, and this is just a place to start. Will these stay like this all the time permanently? No guarantees. These could change and probably will change. I didn't know if there's any questions right now, Ricky.
Any questions for Tilly about this document that has been disseminated to the faculty? I shared it at the Academic Senate yesterday as well. The chairs have it. Can we bring that back up, Tilly? Because any questions from anyone? I have a request for an interview from a media representative who has a copy of this document. And it's always interesting to me when the media has questions. And so it's evident that someone shared this with the media, which is fine. It's not top secret. And let me say that there is nothing on this document that is not already commonplace. We've been having conversations. Every college has conversations about productivity. Almost 3/4 of the community colleges in the state are facing a deficit and low enrollment. And let me just qualify, if I could, something Tilly said about reductions. The FTES is not a reduction. Our actual actually came in lower than the 8994 that the district has allocated us, right? So when we talk about reduction, it's somewhat a word probably. I'm trying to find a better word because reduction invokes something. I think a better way to frame this is we're now scheduling on actuals, right? So if we looked at what our actuals were, this is how our schedule should have been built, because prior we were building a schedule for over 9,000 FTS, but we were hitting around 9,000, a little less, actually it was about 9,800. So the FTS is not where the reduction is, it really is productivity. And the other thing that's an unknown.
Missed that in here, it's 13.2 was our average. That was way below 15.5.
Yeah, so I have some questions already from some media folks who are asking about the go, no go meetings and the first bullet point about less than 50. These are conversations that are commonplace that we've had with our faculty, the chairs, the deans. These are not new things, folks. Maybe the way we're presenting it may be new, but this is really transparency at the highest level And the reduction is not in FTS, the reduction is in FTF as it relates to productivity. So I thought it was important that I mentioned that, not because you said anything wrong, Tilly, but because I have an email from a reporter who has questions about this. And for me, it's somewhat interesting that someone would have questions about a very common practice that's taking place on every college on the planet right now in terms of how do we manage enrollment in the face of what is going to be a recession, a pandemic, emergency, a lower funding because of lower tax revenue from the state? I was on a conference call earlier today, and they're saying prepare for the worst case scenario, which is a 20% reduction in funding, or the lesser of which would be a 5%. So at a minimum, we're going to face a 5% reduction in funding from the state. Now that is given the fact that the state, that is given that the state had a rainy day fund. If the state didn't have a rainy day fund, folks, we would be seeing reductions to the tune that we saw in 2008, 2009. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, because obviously someone shared the document like it was top secret or something. It wasn't. Like, these are normal practices that occur on a college campus when you're talking about scheduling based on demand, productivity, funding. And the document's really not even new. It's just a variation of the same document that we've passed out at least the 3 years that I've been here. Any questions for the group? Hearing none, let's go back to the agenda. And this document was sent out to all of the faculty, I believe, yesterday. And it was shared with during the Academic Senate meeting yesterday. And it's been shared with the Academic Senate leadership probably for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Update on hiring. I'm going to bring up a document. As you can imagine, I've already described the grim budget outlook, and we are facing some very tough decisions when it comes to hiring. We're in a hiring freeze, so we're not hiring. And we have a number of position folks that are directly related to accreditation. Nursing, we at the Academic Senate meeting yesterday, Anita in the nursing department asked wonderful questions about what is our plan for nursing. I've asked Tilly to follow up on that. I've emailed Anita directly, but I can talk about a number of positions that are high priority positions that when you're in a budget challenge like we are, it's going to cause us to have to look at our organizational structure. And I'm hesitant to say reorganize, but I don't know how else you do it. And so I'm sharing the City College vacancy report, which has been provided to every one of the campus leaders on this Zoom meeting, as well as I met with the Academic Senate yesterday, provided an example. We currently have 17 vacancies. There are there are a number of people. I didn't say that right. Let me go back. If you combine the number of people participating in the SERP and the number of vacancies, we're looking at between 41 and 55 positions that we're impacted by. We should know that the vacancies were used to fill about half of the $30 million deficit that the district is facing. Every community college in the state, folks, is facing these same challenges. And usually when you have a SERP, the purpose of a SERP, or early retirement incentive, is to not replace those positions. When you're facing a $30 million budget and you use about 14 million of vacancies to fill that $30 million hole, you're likely to not fill those vacancies. These are very trying times when we're making every effort to avoid layoffs of our full-time employees. We have to correct this. And unfortunately, when you don't have access to the funding that community colleges need to support equity and social justice in our efforts. 90% of our budget are employees' salaries and their benefits. So these are very trying times. I have a number of gray hairs that staying up at night thinking about this, but my goal is to avoid laying anyone off. And the only way to do that is to not fill vacancies. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to fill some. And so we have vacancies like in nursing, but we also have entire departments that are going to be impacted by SERP. Administrative services, correct me if I'm wrong, Roxanne, you've lost about 5 people in the last year, if you were to include the SERP?
6.
6 people. I mean, and so you take a already small department and you lose 6 people, you know, you're challenged by that. I can tell you that some of the people on the SERP, some of the faculty on the SERP were the only faculty in that particular area. I want to open it up to questions. This is what our vacancy list looks like. This is what our SERP list looks like, and we're likely to not fill many of these positions. So when you lose 41 to 55 people, you're going to be impacted by it.
Ricky, this is Majda.
Yes, Majda.
I have a question about, you have the SERP on the combined vacancies on top, and then the numbers, let's say, for example, your classified professionals, you have 9 on SERP on the top, and then you have 7 on the bottom. I'm just trying to figure out the difference. And also there's a SPA, 1 SERP. What is, because I know there are more than one who.
Do you want me to explain that, Ricky?
Yes.
Sure, Roxanne.
The difference between the top and the bottom is that it's the funding source. So the top is general fund unrestricted and restricted positions. The
So
one below is just general fund unrestricted. The SPA for the SERP application, that means that person has went through the entire process with HR, that they filled out all of the forms, they elected to go through the SERP, and there was only one person from City College that completed that.
One person from SPA?
Yes, that completed the process with HR from City College.
Okay. Now, in terms of the SERP, I know some units are, some are going to go through and some are not going to go through, which means the district will not go with the SERP for certain groups if it doesn't meet the numbers that they are looking for. Is that going to impact your numbers here?
Absolutely, but I can tell you that a communication was already sent to the faculty saying that the SERP was approved by the chancellor. All of the bargaining unit members who are in the SERP has to be approved by the board, which it will be during the May board meeting. It was communicated to the SPA members that there were not enough members, so you need a certain number, right? So the whole point of a SERP is to get to encourage your highest level earners to retire, who are eligible to retire, and then have those salary savings to be able to compensate or pay for the SERP, which you're essentially having an incentive for people to retire, paying for them. And so the point of a SERP is to not replace those salaries, or you would wind up in a worse financial situation than you were to have as many people at the higher end of the salary range. And so Maj, I don't know if you're on the line and on the Zoom, but if you're on the Zoom, I highlighted the difference between the two, as Roxanne has already identified. The top list includes general fund unrestricted and general fund restricted. So we have 2 funding sources at the college: restricted budgets and unrestricted. Unrestricted budgets are in a separate category. So this budget deficit that we're talking about is general fund unrestricted. So at the bottom, what Roxanne did is she pulled out those restricted positions because we're likely to replace them because programs like EOP&S or CalWorks, those and others, those restricted budgets are not necessarily, for right now, impacted by the budget challenge. But I can tell you going into next year, if we're looking at a 5 to 20% budget reduction, that reduction is going to hit categorical programs as well. Does that answer your question, Majda?
I'm not sure, Ricky. I'm just, my concern is the SERP issue, because I know some of the units are not gonna be approved for SERP because they did not meet the numbers.
Correct.
Now, I'm just curious if that's gonna impact, how it's gonna impact our campus. Let's say the district says you had like 4 people from city applied for SERP, and then the district says, well, SPA, you're not approved because we need 20 people, and that's not going to move forward. Faculty have moved forward because they met the numbers, for example. So maybe some of the members are going to resend their SERP application.
Yeah, well, that actually wouldn't hurt us because then we would have that position. And I hate to use the word hurt, maybe I should say impact. That wouldn't negatively impact us. Some of us, and maybe Roxanne, you could chime in, and I asked Roxanne the same question, and maybe in a different way. Some folks are past the deadline to rescind. It depends on how people submitted their paperwork. Roxanne, maybe you can provide like a quick overview of like how that worked.
Yeah, so faculty were approved to go through the SERP. At this point, they cannot resend their application. I think, Maja, you're referring to the email that went out about SPA.
Correct.
And that did not go through.
Correct.
But that person from City College still has the option to either resend their application or work with HR to continue the retirement process. So they've already reached out to that person. Classified, that is still, Ricky, correct me if I'm wrong, that is still being decided. There hasn't been a decision.
There will be an announcement today about classified.
So again, with that, if it is a yes, at that point in time, they cannot resend their offer or their intent to retire through the SERP. If it is a no, then they could resend their application or continue with the retirement process.
I'm just surprised because I thought there were more like 4 people from city who applied for SERP, but I'm just baffled by the number.
Yeah, and
That could have been the case.
We're kind of diving into an HR matter.
Yeah.
Because certainly someone turning in their paper about retirement is a personnel matter. But as I believe Roxanne was going to say, and sorry for interrupting you, Roxanne, but we're kind of diving into personnel matters in terms of the numbers looking different. People had the right to rescind. And so what you see are the final numbers here. Any other questions about this? This is troubling to me because to potentially lose between 40 and 50 employees in a 1-year period and not be able to replace them during what is an emergency pandemic is very, very troubling. It's going to require us to reorganize. And I want to go on the record, as I've already heard from the faculty about, and they didn't use this term, this is a term that I heard at another college called summer magic. And that is the concept that we need to be respectful, mindful of our processes of participatory governance if we're going to make changes. So let me just go on record and say, if we lose 40 to 50 people, we're going to have to make changes. And so I've already been in communication with Nadia and Paul, Luis, Kelly, many of which work in the summer anyways, that we'll continue to have conversations about the impact. Once the final notice comes out, the respective vice president and I will meet with the manager over the area to begin talking about the changes. I mean, there are some managers who are likely to not have secretaries. There are some is something you normally would have liked to have had at least a year to plan out. We're finding this out in May to have to plan over the summer for this, unfortunately. So I'm calling a special, we call them summits, not retreats, but we're calling a special summit with the vice presidents next week to look more closely at this. There is an announcement that's forthcoming about the classified. I don't want to get ahead of our great chancellor in making that announcement, but you will see an announcement today or in the morning at the latest about the classified. Any questions?
Ricky, can I just add something?
Please.
The numbers that are not reflected on here are the actual facility workers that are assigned to our campus. So we have about 7 of them that we also may lose during this process.
Yeah, and
That's our
there was
custodians, our gardeners, and all of that.
Yeah, originally there was an agreement to replace all of those. And the reason why, for those who may wonder, is we build out a campus for 20+ thousand students. And when you have a footprint like we do, there's a formula for cleaning, maintaining spaces that we are required to maintain. And so there was an initial agreement that anyone from the facilities team who participated in the SERB would be replaced. And that's a necessity. We also have some other necessities, but I want to meet with the vice presidents and the academic senate leadership, Awana, Maj, to be able to talk about those things. Because again, this is hot off the press. Any other? We do have some recruitments. You know, I've received a number of inquiries. Well, you've got nearly 50 vacancies and/or SERP participants. How could you be hiring this position or that position? A lot of what we're hiring right now are essential positions, and that's not to say that the others aren't. In order to have an athletics program, at a minimum, you've got to have a director of athletics. The pay difference between an athletic director and a dean of athletics, we're talking $20,000 to $30,000, maybe $40,000 folks on the upper end. To not have that position at all would require a current dean who may or may not have any experience in a highly regulated program called athletics to oversee it. And so we are moving forward with that. I recognize that we need to hire an associate dean of nursing. Dr. Armstrong is doing an amazing job with our nurses. I certainly hear the concerns about nursing. I have concerns about all the positions, frankly. And so we're trying to prioritize them if we're lucky to be able to hire anyone going into the new year with our attempt to avoid layoffs at all costs. Questions about hiring? And the next item we pretty much have already touched. The budget outlook is grim. It's the economic outlook is not good. We really need everyone to rally around the state chancellor utilizing the funding from the online college to the current existing colleges. I heard a great presentation during the academic senate meeting yesterday where a state representative said that there were only 50 students enrolled in the online college. They have $100 million, folks. And out of those 50 students, and I don't remember the exact number, Paul or Luis, maybe you do, but I want to say that the majority of those 50 students already had bachelor's degrees. So we're funding, I can't even call it an institution because it's not approved, it's not accredited. We're funding it at $100 million when we're talking about $30 million of cuts and avoiding layoffs, and they have 50 students. We have nearly 18,000 students, folks. And so we need your advocacy at the state, local level with our elected officials to say, hey, you know what? We've got a better use of that better use for that $100 million that the state funded the online college. Heck, right now, almost all of the colleges are online. Why couldn't we access that $100 million? Tilly.
I just had a question. I didn't know if you wanted me to share the faculty hiring prioritization. I missed that earlier.
and I missed it as well. Let's look at that, and maybe you can talk about that, or Nadia actually was involved in that. Nadia, do you mind providing an overview of the faculty hiring prioritization as Tilly brings it up?
Are you there, Nadia?
Sorry, on mute. Yeah, so the faculty hiring prioritization list, we were able to get this together. And Tilly, yes, it's implementation for spring 2020 into fall 2021. And I've been pretty happy with the process. I feel like we really had a nice, diligent process as chairs over the course of last year with Susan Murray and Tilly's help as well. We really tried to participate in a reflection where we looked at our current process. We tried to tighten things up and make things as strong as possible. We met as a work group, those of us that could meet over the course of a semester, I think last fall or spring. And then in the fall, we had a few work group meetings, and we just tried to tighten up a process, and then we participated in it. And we had some presentations, and then we ranked the positions, and Susan really helped us a lot with this as well. We really leaned on her, and we also leaned on chairs who had been diligently involved in coming up with the process a couple years ago as well. And then we all landed on this list. And then at the bottom of this document, we also wanted to include our desire that if there's a need to veer off the list, that we'd like a conversation with Ricky, if possible, within 2 weeks. And if it's time sensitive, we'd like the president to meet with chair of chairs and academic senate president. And then we included a few possible scenarios that we brainstormed, knowing that it could be greater. That was just to ensure communication in the event that we'd have to veer off the list.
Yeah, and let me first say, Nadia, I appreciate the efforts that went into this. I know that it is challenging to rank the needs of faculty. We need more faculty. Let me just go on record as saying that, like, we don't have enough faculty for the students that we serve. And while I appreciate the great efforts of our adjuncts, we know that hiring a full-time faculty member yields greater dividends in increasing student success in our campus community and all the things that we know. We need more classified employees as well. And so when I look at this list, I'm going to begin the discussions, frankly, right now with the faculty leadership, because we know that there are some gaps related to accreditation that we need to fill with nursing and some other areas. You may be asking, well, why would you be putting together a prioritization list if you're in a hiring freeze? Well, there are two types of hirings. One is for growth, and the way we grow the college's faculty is the state provides us money. That's how we hire faculty. The state says, okay, City College, we're going to give you 2 faculty positions. Well, you would need to have a list ready to go if that happened. And now we know that that is likely not to happen if we're facing somewhere between a 5 to 20% reduction. The second reason that you need a hiring prioritization list is what is more likely to happen, and that is replacement positions. People are regularly retiring. Maybe a spouse moves to another state and then they go. And so you need to have this hiring prioritization list ready in those cases as well. That's either for growth or replacement. And so in the coming weeks, I'll be meeting with academic senate leadership to talk about this list. I'm having discussions with deans in terms of their lists, and we'll come together to look at what the needs are for the college. The vice presidents and the deans, managers were encouraged to create staffing plans, and we're going to have to really rip those staffing plans up and go back to the drawing board when you look at the reality of potentially having a staff reduction of of upwards of 40 or 50 people. And so this is almost going to require us to go back to the drawing board and assess these things. Thank you, Tilly, for bringing that up, because we did want to chat about that. Any questions or discussions about the faculty hiring prioritization list?
I guess I would just want to say also that I was happy with the process, but I also think that the faculty hiring prioritization list and going through it is really important, because it kind of allows us to really take the time and look at it all with a fine-tooth comb and under a magnifying glass. And, it's painful in a way too. Like you said, all of these positions are just so important. And when you sit through the presentations and you listen to all of it, you want everyone to get what they need. So I think that, one thing I want to work on with chairs as well is just kind of debriefing and thinking about it. I'm already thinking of the next 2 years and kind of how we want to think about that as well.
Yeah, and I echo your sentiments, Nadia. Thank you for pointing that out. And I want to restate a word that you said, right? That every position on that list is a need. It's not a want. We need more full-time faculty. We need more funding for community colleges to hire full-time faculty, as well as our classified professionals as well. So kudos to you all for taking on a great task of trying to determine where a position fell in the line of priorities for the college. And we'll make every effort. We'll utilize the list. The question becomes, how do we utilize the list? Do we need to skip over a position? Do we need to add a position on? The other challenge with the list, which frankly falls upon me as the president, is that list was put together outside of the SERP, right? So we got to compare the number of faculty who are leaving us in retirement and where do they converge, interface with the hiring prioritization list, because I can tell you, having seen the SERP, which I can't share the names, right? This is a personnel matter, but there are some faculty who are in single faculty. They're the only faculty in a department that is a high demand area. And that it may be an accreditation requirement to hire a full-time faculty member. Any other comments about the faculty hiring prioritization list? Thank you, Nadia, for putting that together. And everyone else who participated, because it was a committee effort and went to the academic senate, and now it is coming to college council. Wi-Fi lots. This is exciting. And I tried to end on a positive note in the face of some very real challenges. Let me share this document where we are thinking and planning about offering employees, students access to Wi-Fi. A number of our students are, they don't have access to Wi-Fi. They don't have access to a computer. They can no longer just go into Starbucks or a library and access Wi-Fi. And so we've been planning with our police department and facilities to open up a lot where students can drive in, employees can drive in to access the internet. And this is just south of the Child Development Center. And Roxanne, I'm assuming you can get Wi-Fi there, because that's not necessarily near a building.
That wasn't, to my understanding, Chris, our Vice Chancellor of Facilities, he said that was from the Child Development Center that able to reach that parking lot.
Okay. And so we're working on the details of this. We'll make an announcement in the coming days, if not by next week, where this lot will employ social distancing, maybe a car every parking spot, and people will be able to come on campus. There's some other colleges in the state that have been doing this. And so I'm looking forward to being able to make this announcement. It is forthcoming, but I thought I'd let College Council and those that are watching know that we're making every effort to support our students and our employees during this time. And I'm going to come back on an employee matter that's not on the agenda, but I think it's relatable. Any questions about the lot? This is the lot that is adjacent to the business building south of Child Development. Looks like 16th Street and C, if I'm not mistaken, Roxanne. Has to be C.
Yes.
Any questions about this? The other thing that I want to be clear, we've sent a number of emails, and I received this question yesterday at the Academic Senate, and I received it last week during my meeting with the Classified Senate, and we've had a number of forums. In fact, we're having a forum next week on the 8th. Is it the 7th or is it the 8th? Tilly or faculty?
7th, 2:30 to 3:30.
7th. So I invite everyone. It's open. We're focusing in on instruction, but it's open to anyone. We're having a forum. An email will go out to the campus. I invite your questions. There'll be folks, the instructional leadership, Denise and some of our colleagues in student services. It'll be a question and answer, primarily focusing on instruction, but anyone who has a question can come. We've had a number of them. I was at the Classified Senate last week, a similar thing where we took questions. The number one question that I've gotten is, I left something on campus that I need for my work. Can I go and get it? And the answer is, it depends. What you should do is reach out to your immediate supervisor. Now, if you tell us I left some donuts in my refrigerator in my office, we're probably going to say that can wait. If you say, you know what, I've been working at home and it's not the best of cases, but I've got an ergonomic keyboard that I would love to go get. Absolutely, we're going to make arrangements through your supervisor and Roxanne and campus police for you to go get those items. We are also opening it up because we've heard from our great faculty that have said, you know what, if I can get into my office for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or maybe even an hour and shoot a video of me doing this experiment or this demonstration, it would help our students during this time. Absolutely, we're going to let you in, as long as we're not talking about you meeting with students and as long as we're not talking about you congregating. But if you need to access your workspace to get something to bring back home, to make working at home easier on you, to help students, if you need to access your space, and I'm thinking of Chris in RTVF, I know this came from him, Jeannie, so he needs to be the first person you email, because I'm hearing Chris in my ear. And Chris, I'm happy to be able to let you back into your studio to make the necessary videos. Now, this is not a go hang out in your space. This is a go in, please do what you need to do. And then we're going to politely ask you to go back home or to wherever you are sheltering in space. Are there any questions? There is a form going out. I'm going to turn over to Tilly. I think that's why she's, go ahead, Tilly, please.
That's what I was going to say. I have sent out the plan, but I'll go ahead and send it to the entire campus as well. There are set dates and times of when we're asking people to come in and do the recordings or whatever it is. We're still trying to manage that because it is for their safety and the safety of everyone else on the college. So please abide by that.
Yes, and I would strongly like to say, we don't want people on campus by themselves. That is a safety concern for you. You must notify your immediate supervisor. We also don't want large groups on campus. So if 100 faculty members said, you know what, I want to go to the MS building, we're going to have to stagger that in some way over a couple of days to be able to do that. So we're looking for ways to support some of the feedback that we've heard from faculty, classified professionals. I rushed off campus and I forgot this. And kudos to Roxanne. She's been meeting students. She's been meeting faculty. She's been on campus more than I'm frankly comfortable with, but she's been going above and beyond to let people access their spaces. And so we've been doing this, but we're going to do it in a more public way, particularly because we've heard from faculty. I think Tilly had a meeting last week with some some faculty in like career education areas, strong workforce areas that say, you know, if I could just get into my lab and shoot a video. And so we're going to make arrangements. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll be able to have an IoT there with you, because again, we're trying to maintain distance. This is allowing a single person into a single space to do what they need to do. Questions about that? Hearing that an email did go out to campus, please coordinate with your immediate supervisor if you are in that situation. Another conversation has come up from Awana, who I meet with monthly, has to do with classified and others using their personal printers, much like I am. The college and the district already has a reimbursement process. However, you must seek the approval of your supervisor. You know, we're probably going to want to know, what are you printing? Because a lot of things we're doing electronically. But if you're in that situation where you're using ink and you're using paper, please work with your immediate supervisor. There is a reimbursement process already in place for the college, but please don't go buy anything before you receive a written approval from your immediate supervisor. Give me 1 second here as I share the agenda. And I know I've gone over a little bit. I apologize. We're trying to keep you all updated. A great article that was shared with me by Kelly Mayhew, one of our great faculty members, I would urge you to read. The title of the article is "Colleges Must Open." It's absolutely right. We must open. Our students need us. Heck, we like being around each other. We love our campus. This is not an attempt to be an online college, folks. I love City College. Why I came to work here. It's urban, it's dope, it's eclectic, it's all the things that we miss right now. And so this is a great article that talks about what colleges are doing. The number one question is, when are we going to open? We're going to open as soon as the county says we can, as soon as the state says we can, and as soon as the federal government says we can. But we also know that as soon as we open, all the medical community is saying that the likelihood that we may have to close again is very likely. So we're preparing for both things. With that said, that concludes our agenda for College Council. I do want to open it up if anyone has any compelling announcements that you all want to make. Any announcements for the good of the order? Hearing none, thank you all for joining us. I'm so proud of our college. We have such amazing colleagues that we work with every day. I've learned so much from you. I see you all going above and beyond. And let me conclude with this. I agree with Roxanne that the students who came to get their laptops, some of them were in tears that the college thought enough of them that we would provide them with a laptop and or a Wi-Fi hub. And we did so because we love our students. So for those who are listening, for those who are on college council, please continue to move forth in the spirit of love, the spirit of flexibility, the spirit of that this is an emergency and it's got to be organic, and just do the best that you can. And that's what everyone has been doing. Thank you all very much. I'll see you all in 2 weeks. If there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to email me to the vice presidents and Caesar. I'll see you in the next Zoom meeting. Take care. Thanks, Tia.